Good evening, I'm Mohammad Mois from Istanbul and this is Turkey's Economic Brief. I will be discussing a few points with you today. The developments in the Turkish lira. The Turkish lira closed last week at 3.72, however, this week it again dropped into the 3.80s, closing at 3.82 today. The Central Bank of Turkey took a few measures, but was not able to control the volatility of the lira. The Central Bank of Turkey on Wednesday announced a $500 million allocation to a forex deposit auction and opened a $300 million auction on Friday in an attempt to bolster the lira. However, it has not helped increase the lira's value. Experts expect the Central Bank of Turkey to increase the interest rates. The Central Bank of Turkey will meet on Tuesday, 24th of January to discuss the interest rate, where they are expected to increase it. Furthermore, Fitch Credit Rating will be putting out credit ratings for Turkey on the 27th of January, on this Friday. And if we look at the lira and the increase in the interest rate and the Fitch credit rating, an increase in the rates and the credit rating staying the same would help the Turkish lira gain value in the international market. Secondly, Turkish investment policies for foreigners have changed. Last week, changes were made to the Turkish citizenship laws for foreigners in order to increase investment. Foreigners can now gain a Turkish citizenship through different types of investments, which include investment of $1 million in real estate, holding it for 3 years, investment of $2 million in capital for 3 years, holding of government bonds worth of $3 million, not diversifying it for 3 years, depositing $3 million in Turkish banks without withdrawal for 3 years, or employing 100 people in Turkey. Time will tell if these developments do actually lead to higher investment. The third, the unemployment is highest in Turkey since the past 6 years. Unemployment seems to be another problem, especially in this time of slow economic growth for Turkey. In October 2016, unemployment was at 11.8%, which is highest since 2011. The unemployment among youth stood at 21.2% in October 2016, which is also one of the highest in Europe. The increasing number of unemployed is worrying for the youth who are entering the workforce. Moving forward, the need for greater work opportunities, especially among youth, should be of importance, and improving ties between industry and schools or universities, along with promoting entrepreneurship among the youth, can lead to decreased unemployment. And lastly, I would like to talk about the positive outlook for tourism in 2017. 2016 was a hectic year for the tourism sector in Turkey. Till the end of November 2016, number of tourists to Turkey declined a little over 30% to 24 million from 34.77 million during the same time period in 2015. And the decline has been due to various terrorist attacks, the failed coup attempt, and problems with the Russian government after a Russian jet was shot down in late 2015. The number of Russian tourists is of importance for the tourism sector because of the high number of annual visitors to Turkey. In 2014, 4.4 million, and in 2015, 3.6 million Russian tourists visited Turkey, coming second only to German tourists. In 2016, only 822,000 Russians visited Turkey, a steep decline from previous years, where they have accounted for almost 10 to 15% of all tourists coming to Turkey. However, since the normalization of ties with Russia, Russian tourists have begun to turn back to Turkey. The Turkish tourism sector is also expecting high numbers from last year's, especially in terms of Russian tourists who are set to visit this year. And the initial news and the forecast for this year are based on the early reservations made by Russian and Israeli tourists for hotels. And with that, I say good evening to you from Istanbul.